Do 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 do. Am I alive? We don't really know. Do 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 do. We're live. Just mute that. Hello and goodbye. Everyone leaves the moment I go live. And my ping is like 200. I'd like to say, Eden, if you're here, this is called Roblox. Will. This guy is called Will. Stream animals. Running Pajal.
Right.
What the come on, ladies. As my stream just died.
Oh my god, Will killed me.
Wait, were you the detective?
Yeah.
Right, where did you die? Died.
Where are you?
Where you died. Where's Will?
Can you see the gun?
I've picked the gun up. Jesus Christ. Boom. Absolute mud.
With that face behind you.
You can also knife behind you as well, I found out.
You can throw. Yeah, you can throw the knife.
Whatever the thing is where the knife kill people. Yeah. Yoy there, Rowan. How are you today?
Will was just standing still. I don't think Will was playing. I think
Someone go and check my stream out, 'cause for me it's not working very well. What are you thinking working, mate? I don't know.
Wait,
I
let's
really
see
don't
if
know.
Did it tweet it out? Yeah.
Wait, yeah. Oh, good. What about you? And your stream is okay. Good. Just making sure because on my end, yeah, YouTube ain't liking me.
I just got an email.
I ain't sheriff.
I think Will's murderer again.
Do you? We did it!
Thank God.
Thank you, everyone. That was one of the most easiest kills I've ever gotten. I think it might be Will.
No,
It fucking worked
it
out.
might be Will. He wasn't it last time, it was me.
Why wasn't it? How did I die? Did I die because I shoot? That's right.
You shot Will, who was an innocent player. So you died.
I thought I fucking won.
No. I was the murderer.
Oh, I knew that. Don't question my knowledge of Roblox. Play it all the time.
Have you got any viewers?
Apparently I've got 4, but it's, well, as I said before, it's just fucking up right now on my end.
I'll have your stream.
I'm a streamer with a computer that hardly can run Roblox. Oh,
Jack, I'm the murderer.
don't know to believe you anymore, though. Pull out your knife. Exactly, it's not you, is it?
Where's Will? It is.
Pull out your knife.
Knife crime.
Yeah, because it's not you, it's Will. Or because I've got the tactics down.
I'm waiting till the right moment. Where is Will?
I don't know.
Can't. There's this bit back here. Let me try. No, it's not here. I'll make it sure you kill him. So I can.
You know, you could just get your knife out and kill me, and then I'll be able to tell you where he is.
I don't want to find. I can't be able to find. You can do it for me.
Oh. Trampoline worked.
Oh, you found him.
Yeah, you know, surprising thing is, he was the murderer. Who would have thought?
Where was he?
Weird. He climbed up like an air vent. He climbed up out of the floor, basically.
Yeah, there's air vents that you can climb through in this game. Like, if there's one called Bank, then you can climb. There's lots of vents in that one. It's in Biolab. Go in Biolab. I know a secret place.
Do you now? Do you? Maybe I want to go to Mill Base.
No. Oh my god, what have you done?
50-50
Hi,
chance.
who's Elizabeth? Hello, Elizabeth Paulson.
Hi, anyone in my chat, if I miss anything you say right now, I'm very sorry, but my computer's currently killing itself, so I'm having a hard time trying to get it in. Seems to be working.
Are you the sheriff? Jack, are you the sheriff?
I might be. Why would that be?
You are the sheriff.
Shh, they're watching my stream.
Shing shing. Have you seen that thing from Mongrel? Shing shing.
Shing 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 shing. Nah. Perfect. I wasn't going for that type of shing shing shing. That's the type of shing 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 I got.
I was a shing shing. I'm so good at this game. I don't even I don't even have to swing my sword.
It's just not seeing enough video to maintain us. We've got why. Oh my god, I'll give up.
Shing shing shing. I really want to know who Elizabeth Paulson is.
It sounds like a woman. Potentially an alive woman.
I think it's either. Yay. I think what's the matter? I found Will.
I didn't see what I was. What am I?
Will's here. Kill him, it's not me. Yes, I told you, it's not me.
Well, I have trust issues at this point.
I've done nothing. Why shoot me?
What? You've done nothing? Is that son?
I'm an innocent, that's my role. I do nothing. Callum just messaged me, oi.
Flashing back, oi oi oi.
So I said, yes, come on Roblox. That was like 10 minutes ago. He's squaring up.
Save the gracious queen.
Jack, I can predict what you are.
What am I?
Murderer.
Oh, it's almost like you're watching my stream. You right there, babe, and hello there, the quiet anime girl.
Why you kill? Stop shing shing shinging.
Shing shing shing. I should set up a hotkey for that. Perfect.
That was a year ago.
Want Robux?
Shing, shing, shing. A year ago.
I don't know. No way that was a year ago already.
Where are
Seems
you?
like yesterday. Oh, where are you? JK.
Jack, oh my god.
Nah. Message
wanna know how
retracted.
to
What
throw-
did retract message?
To throw it, you
That's
press
it.
E or just quick right click.
Quick right click. Okay.
Yeah. Just don't hold it, like, cause to move your camera, you hold it. Just click it. And you
What's your
throw it.
username? My username, because I'm this came out 5 years ago, is JS15 Gaming with an E.
Why is it 15?
Because I had this name in 2015.
Ah. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I made this account because it might have been 2016. 5 May, it's 2020. Good choice.
I know it's 2020, but you didn't make it the
2020
4th of
motherfucker.
January, did
These days, you never know.
Post
Hello
Malone,
there,
Post
Shadow the Hedgehog. Sonic or Mario Sonic? I've never... What? Quick, shoot. I think my pinball.
Shing, 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 shing,
Shing. Just get that clip up. What if I told you my old account was made in Jesus Christ. You've had Roblox for a while, I'll tell you that much. A lot longer than me. Actually, I don't know. When did I make my Roblox account? Is there a way I can check?
Where can you check where Will is?
Will is hiding by a water cooler.
I can't remember, your mic cut out.
Yes, it was. He's hiding behind a water cooler.
Am I near him?
I don't know. I don't know the map. I haven't played it for a while.
This is a new one.
Doesn't. I made this account on the 24th of the 8th, 2015.
So 5 years ago.
That's a while ago. Oh, you're right next to me. Go. You. Oh my god, you literally
Am I?
right there, right to your left. There he is. In there. I mean, we
Jesus.
I didn't just cheat.
Stop hiding.
My account I'm using known as Dam in X123X. Domain X123X. I like the name. It's not better than mine.
You need to get some of your viewers in. Tell them to add me if they want to join.
Add that one. That geezer there. Add him. He'll accept you, or you can add me. But I don't know what. I don't know.
No, he
And
has
then
to
you
add
can
me.
come play with us.
We can't
They have to play him.
because it's friends.
Add him.
Yeah, you have to add me. Oh,
You heard it
Will
here
West.
first. Does he just join back?
Oh, now he.
Also, nobody asked me what the fuck is my computer killing itself over this. Really don't know.
Oh, I need to get Roblox up.
Sheriff.
Roblox.
Roblox. Like. Will isn't
Has
part
Adam
of
sent
this
me a
one.
request?
Can both add me. Send us fair.
Oh, this is boring. I'm innocent.
How are you? How are you now?
Shing, shing. Will's following me.
Ching!
I told you.
It's Spastis' fault. Oh, he is so.
Press 2.
Well, I'm
And
confused.
you got some emotes, I think.
Oh, I like the emotes though. Yay, I win!
I'll load up your stream again.
Load up my stream, bitch, I need the views. You know when you're that desperate? Yeah, that's me. put your username in chat, so I'll copy it off. Mine is... yeah. And then, that's his. Next time on Dragon Ball Z. It's me. Dragon Ball Z. Oh. Yeah, the one
Jack,
named XI Fusion, he's like the host. Don't play this game very much. All three of us. Get him! Go.
Jack, the stream's laggy.
Are you watching it in 1080p?
No,
think
I'm
if you watch,
720.
it's trying to it's trying to output it at 1080p, but I don't have the bandwidth for it, and I keep forgetting to change it.
1, 2, 3, oh, just accept.
Base it up to 7,000. My internet goes. It's because I tried to stream.
Someone called Jubin added me. He has the maximum number of friends, so.
Both is tagged.
Damien X.
Are you streaming, Jack? What type? Yes. Well, I am streaming. Oh, I forgot that I've missed what I was. What am I? Guys, chat, what am I?
Oh, I hate. Why are we playing this map? It's so boring.
Just a fact. Right. GG, guys, GG. Guess I ain't playing that much.
You got some good gameplay here, Jack.
I really am, mate. See, now it does it, it won't output like that. So if I change it. Sorry if the stream's going all over the place. I'm just trying to work this out. Test stream, by the way. Something went wrong.
I added the we have wings.
Apparently I'm already at the max. I'll delete some people. I don't know who half these people are. He's my friends, Lee. We can remove Cool Dude 5492. Yeah, that one. How do I unfriend? There you go. Things I do for you lot. Apparently I've still got over the max. Oh, is he here? We delete more people.
Yay, more people.
Aha, now I'm gonna have no friends. I was removing people, Will. You bitch. How you died. Alright. I think I can accept. No? Oh, so that you apparently you've got maximum friendship.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
It's that I don't know who it is. That Jabberlow guy or something like that.
Jabberlow.
Jubin Low.
Journey and Peps.
Did you get Jubin Low?
Oh yeah, Jabino. Jabino. Don't know, I like the sound of the name. Oh. YouTube.
Who's Pep?
I don't know. Joining Peps worked for me. Works.
Oh, someone's joined. Ah, Damien's.
Hey, hello there. How are you? How are you? You alright? Oh, I forgot I can throw the knife. So that's how I say, oh, people.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I can't say this.
Right, let's see what we can say. I'm a good game. I'm not.
Can't say this. D.
This.
F. I
D.
can't say this.
I. Okay. Oh, no. You blanked the last bits out. It knows me so well. Put me on the...
Damien has Discord.
Damn, innocent again.
I'm innocent. We can have 2 people innocent now.
Because we're adding to our collection of people we're enslaving.
Left.
Are you an evil man?
Jack, you're most.
Go, 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 go. Oh. Wait, I forget people have got my stream open. Die! It won't, I can't.
You can throw the knife. I see. Yeah,
I'm good at this game. Bruh. Oh, so I don't bloody know what it is.
Is Will gonna join again?
I don't know. The 6,500? I don't mind if I could do 6,500. I don't fucking know. I am good. Good. Not as good as my proness. I'm pro Roblox streamer now. Might also just be my game lagging because my computer just doesn't seem to like Roblox right now.
Why is Roblox?
I really don't know. It's just like, nah bitch, I ain't running.
It likes GTA, it likes Fortnite, but it doesn't like Roblox.
Literally, I can run
How did you-
GTA at 60 FPS plus. I can't run fucking Roblox at 2 FPS. Oh my god, now my game's being weird. I've done something wrong. Oh, please don't kill me. Laggy for me. I think it's just my internet. Might be it. Hello? Have I just been... got kicked out of the Discord call. People follow me.
Where are you?
I died. I'm sorry.
Fell for it again.
Hey, I was told I was told to die, so I just.
Oh my days.
Sorry.
Madness. You did a madness.
I'm quite a madman if I do say so myself. We did it.
You
I know.
act. I did it. I did it. Yeah.
Does my game lag so much?
I've got no viewers.
I don't know. I've got
Six.
6.
6.
Remember guys, leave a like and share this stream with all your friends so I can seem like I've got some type of reason to wake up in the morning. I really do put myself down half the time. I'm just a survivor. Oh my god, my Porter is fucking dying.
Damien is the sheriff. How do I get out of here?
So that means you're the murderer. What the fuck is wrong with my fucking game? What did you kill me?
I thought you were the murderer.
I'm good. I'm good. Well, just come invite Will to Discord.
I saw on your screen murderer.
Yellow. Oh, I've just moved them all over. So what about if I change that to 5,500 bits? You gonna work that? Probably fucking not. Hello.
And that's something like that. Oh fuck.
Oh Jesus Christ, mate! What am I?
Hello.
Hello.
What call is Ian? With Will.
Yes, we can call Will.
I've got loads of calls.
We incorporate Will into our sexual fantasies nowadays.
Are you joining, Will?
Shoot, I don't know. Do I want to shoot him?
Oh, there you go. Please.
Don't kill him, Jack.
That's my thingy.
Should I kill him?
Oh, I really like him. Oh, that's great.
Piece of cake.
Oh, there we are.
I told you. I was the murderer.
I don't know who to believe because you'll lie to me. Trust none of you at this point.
You're not meant to.
I'd expect someone to tell the truth and like, but he's obviously telling the truth because he's my bestie, he's my friend.
I just did.
But did you though? Did you though?
Yeah, I said don't kill
thank you
him.
so much, Shadow the Hedgehog, for the subscriber. Don't ask me where this fucking alerts are because they don't work and I don't know how to fix them, but I'm working on it slowly.
I've got alerts if you want to test them.
I don't know why I've always had alerts for Twitch,
But not
and I've always been able to get them work. Remember when I go to YouTube, my alerts just break. Like on the website, like on the thing, it says, "Oh yeah, it works. It's fine. I can do tests. It works." Someone subs to me during the stream, just doesn't work. It's kind of annoying.
Oh, Will's here. Shing, shing, shing.
Damn it! Shing, 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 shing. I can't die though. Ah.
I'm godly. We need more people. Jack, we need more people.
Let me tweet about my stream.
No, you need to get all your viewers into our game.
Yeah, I've only got like 5 and they keep jumping around, so if I get more people in.
There's 2. So you got 3 people. No, 2 people, because you got that Damien guy. 2 people that you can get in here.
Hey everyone, if you got Roblox and
PC
some crippling depression, and would like to play with me and some friends, come and join the stream and drop your user and you can join us playing. Sorry to anyone who does not find this entertaining. I find this pretty entertaining myself. How do I join the game? Add it's Carter YT spatters. It's CXRTERYT, and then he'll accept your friend request. I get killed, and then just join us. To have Roblox and also a good-looking face like me.
Oh, so close.
Jojo W. Add. Guys, no. add the person I'm just putting in chat now. He'll accept it and then just join us through that. But look, your name's getting splashed about everywhere at this point.
Yeah.
I can't spell for sheet.
Yeah.
I'll just leave that. Hashtag. Oh. Didn't want that in. Copy. Send that tweet.
You just asked Roblox or Discord. Oh my god, why did Will keep leaving?
Roblox. I don't know. It will be. It's just Will. That's to be expected. Say, you cock. Fuck for your dollar, is she? Okay. Okay, boo.
I was too
Does that
good.
always kill? I don't know.
I've had no requests yet.
Well, I was just chugging some peps.
Oh, there you go,
Thanks.
little Jojo. Join our game.
Just join us. You don't know how, I don't know either.
Oh, there we go. Fine fucking word. I've got 10 minutes.
You alright there, Will?
Yeah, now fucking on my phone. You fucking get so cool. Yeah, 10 minutes.
Will?
I'm innocent.
Oh, no, there we go. Now back in.
Keep missing what I am. I know people are watching the stream so they know exactly who I am.
Yeah, iPhone.
Tell you what, easiest match ever.
I stood still.
Easy. You guys step up your
There we go,
game.
we've got 5 people.
Oh, now fucking here.
5 people. Okay, we are growing.
Oh, fine.
Right, Twitter.
My game is being... I think it's my internet dying.
If you wanna...
I think it might be that. I'm joining. Okay. Anyone here who is not currently sub, just remember it's for free and you gotta watch all my amazing shit that's normally Fortnite. Also, none of my games don't tend to lag like this. Hello. Hello there. See how close I get to a full lobby?
This makes being the murderer fun.
Not when it's me, because everyone fucking knows.
Are you having fun, Jack?
Yes.
Oh my god, no it's not, oh my god. There's that other guy. Your friend, Damien.
Oh, you're dead.
It's Damien.
That's what I like to call pinpoint accuracy. Look wonderful I am.
You just saw Will run across at the end.
That question noises I make while playing Roblox.
Hello, evil. I think I'm at 30 subs now.
No idea.
Yeah.
Retweet why?
If you want to join, add my Roblox.
Want to join? Add it's underscore Carter, spelt weirdly because he's a dick.
No, it's not spelt weirdly. It's replacing
It
A
is.
with an X. It's not.
Please tell me who spells it with a Z.
Oh, that's
Oh,
because
yeah.
the original one was taken.
Fucking murder is always.
Exactly. Please don't kill me.
Oh,
Oh, I have so much. Oh, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ.
I pressed the wrong buttons.
No!
Oh no.
I was so close to shooting him.
I pressed the wrong button.
I'm dead.
So this is why my mom should let me run Ethernet through the house. So what about the carpet? Give me smoother gameplay.
This guy doesn't know what Roblox is.
Who doesn't know what
how could you not
Roblox
know-
is?
How could you not know what Roblox is?
Alright, but what was your childhood?
This game was my childhood as well as Minecraft.
Oh, I should load back up the Minecraft fucking...
This is the first
server.
time playing this game in 4 years. Roblox a bit dead now. It's now Roblox.
Bit Roblox now, but I prefer Minecraft.
Create
Doesn't for some reason die on my computer.
and join.
Innocent man.
I'm sheriff again.
I'm innocent.
I can watch your stream.
Can see that I'm innocent.
Some guy's flossing.
Let me floss with you, my friend. How do I floss?
He can't floss. He bought it.
Damn! I can just laugh. How
Oh
do
my
I
God.
join, man? Yo, got more games? Welcome straight.
25% chance and I got it.
We win as usual. Basically, just add it's Carter. It's spelt there. Once when you add him, just join. You go on to Murder Mystery 2 and scroll down to the one that says friends or whatever. I
No,
don't
it
play
says
Roblox
Roblox stream.
too much. Wow, man, what did I do now? Damn.
This is my first time being murdered and I just die like that. It's
It's a me, I got that.
a 25% chance.
It's because Carter won for once in his life.
No, I guessed against you. It was like there was 4 of us. I guessed. I just took the shot because I wanted to kill you. You're
You're right there, Will. It's one of the most common thing to say while playing with Will is, "You're right there, Will."
He did the same to me. I whipped out my sword and he shot me.
Oh. I think he's just trying to get a bit of payback, but it fucking worked.
Is God Mode Games joining? Meow meow.
I think he might be, I'm not sure. He said K.
K?
Yes, K. Wait,
Wait,
yeah,
oh,
I've got that censored. Gonna get banned yet?
let me just add Callum.
Because you ain't good enough. Why am I innocent again? Why is my game dying again? If I feel like it's just my internet dying. It's just a very internet driven based game. I'll come right behind Will. The wild Will. I will. It's me. Ah, it's Carter.
We got one guy left. Where is he gone?
Where did it come from? Where did he go?
What's wrong with William?
Oh, it's
Everybody have a guess.
Damien.
What's wrong with William? What do you have a guess? Where is this
Uh,
last guy? He has gone missing.
God Mode said he sent you a request. Guessing he sent it
Okay.
to you, not me.
I'll add it after this round.
Hope
I
it's
want to
you,
find
not
this
me.
last guy. Where is he, Jack? Can you spectate for me? I can't be bothered.
I am, and I've shown him about 50 times.
Yeah, what's your face?
Oh yeah. So you're spectating me. When
Yeah, I
won.
am now.
Who wants my face?
About your
Spectate,
face?
spectate the other guy.
Yeah.
No way is he at that place, that underground bit.
There he is.
You gonna spectate the other guy?
Who's there? Who are you?
I don't like cheating though.
Okay.
It's really against my moral rights, if I had any. Damien, I would run if I was you.
I can't find him. Am I blind? Oh no, no.
Am I blind? Oh yeah, boys, we win! Oh wait, no, he wins.
Bonjour.
Hello. Right.
Je m'appelle Callum. Moi, je vais pour.
Right, I'm gonna go to the toilet.
Pas à pour.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, lick my foo-foo.
Yes, please. How was your holiday?
What's Friv?
My holiday was good.
Hello, Airfire.
Good.
Do you want to join us, Airfire?
No, nobody likes you.
Shut up.
That's sad.
Ah, the alert is broken, that's why.
Oh, do we to mute you, Callum?
Yes, please.
Hey, Jack. Did Carter tell you?
I just need him.
Can't tell me what.
Like, before
He's
we
being
were
a
on
bit
this,
of a
alright?
sped.
We spent like a half an hour trying to figure out why we couldn't hear each other. Even when on the Xbox app and tried talking through that. Yeah, muted. How stupid can you be?
I
Had you
never actually
muted?
muted you.
Things
Oh,
are.
game glitched out. It wasn't me, I promise.
Muted on Discord by mistake.
By
I
mistake.
didn't mean to mute you for the last 5 hours, but it...
By mistake, alright, mate.
Yeah, no, that's from last time. That wasn't from this time. That's from last time in the Discord call.
Well, aren't you? Easy. Shh. Easy claps.
Has God
Trying to
made game
fix
story
my
time?
alerts, 1 second, guys.
Oh man, I didn't eat it as well. That's why you get for you. I don't know, like comments and macros. That's why you put yourself.
Oh, I've got to save it, don't I?
But now nothing to wait. Oh my god, this is all done.
I will fix my alerts. Oh, that's perfect.
Oh,
Oh my god, again. I hate this.
Oh, yes.
God,
We are fixed.
hate time, man.
Because I don't have permission to join.
This fucking.
Gotta fix it.
Repeat it.
No shit at Roblox.
dear,
Carmen's on my side.
dear.
Just give that a second, guys. I might have spammed it a few too many times.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Will?
Where is he?
See?
Oh, you're the murderer.
Yeah, come and get the gun. Come and get the gun. Come and get the gun.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Oh, didn't mean to throw that. What's that actually there? Whoa, I'm like a knife throwing expert.
Oh, we'll be back in a minute.
Du. My camper. I'm not a camper, you're a camper. Where the fuck? Oh my god, I've clicked off screen.
Oh, that's when the first.
Yeet. Why did that go over there? Yeah, I finally won run. Yeah. I finally won run, guys. Wait, it's amazing what fun you can have on that. JJ, guys, JJ. Thanks for letting me kill you all. It's very nice of you. Damn it. What can I say? I'm a pro. Yeah, I'm just not allowed to join. Why can't you join? Wait till Carter gets back, he'll fix this. He better do it, like, so many reasons. Did it a word.
Has anyone else joined?
Now, God is trying to join. You know, God. But he's currently struggling a little bit because it says apparently he just can't join.
It's the Roblox. I might have to leave and redo it in a second.
No, wait. Oh, you will. I was tabbed out. Is the Roblox stream server? Oh, it's the Roblox. Oh, okay, sorry.
Who's the man?
You should also have alerts now. I think I've fixed them.
Oh shit, Dan.
Like,
Yeah. Jack, who's the murderer? Oh, I found out what Jack.
Will.
Will.
Yeah, I can go against
Will's the
Will.
murderer.
Watch out, Damien. No. No.
Not him.
Don't come in there. No. He was so young.
Where is he? Where is he?
He's like, he was by the bank area. He's above the guy who's dressed in red. He's by little Jojo 9874 in like the shooting range area. Right next to my body. Ooh, I tried to warn you.
Spectate.
You think I'm doing? As usual, we won. All I wanted is my money. All I wanted is my money. Not your money. Yeah, you don't get anything from these. It's annoying. Pay 10 Robux for this. I didn't. I kinda did. Don't use that sad face on me. It wasn't me, it was him. It's The Office too. They should re-release Office. No. Did that flick at the wrist? Hey. Who's playing shitty music? When I do one video, that isn't gonna get copyright claimed. I don't think Discord's working very well.
We should do Simon Says. Oh my god. Alright.
Why would you do that, Eminem? Oh, what? Oh no, wait, it was Carter. Sorry, Eminem. Eminem.
It was Will. Okay. my days.
And
Why
will
aren't
it
you
be
using the
my
sword
turn
I
to
gave
kill?
you? I gave you a sword. Why aren't you using
Gave who a sword? Who did you give a sword, Carter, to?
Oh, that's the one. Oh, thank you.
it? Oh.
Where?
Hey, you get your
Someone called a team called C1 likes my.
Oh shit, I got it.
You're there's C1, it's nice to see ya. Are they gonna like ask you to be part of their Roblox team?
Yeah, Roblox.
Because if
FaZe
so,
need to
I'm a
have
pro.
Roblox.
Yes.
FaZe need to have a Roblox team.
God, I'm fucking innocent again.
Oh shit, yeah.
Dum, dum,
I'm gonna
don't
hit up
kill me.
FaZe Banks. Yo, bro, we need to make a FaZe Roblox.
I will. I will.
FaZe murder mystery team.
Right, everyone. Alright, Will's got to command us. He's our master. Save me, Will. Don't murder me. Not the murderer. Look, I'll emote to prove it. Look, I'm dancing. Whoa! He's gonna fucking kill me, guys. Call the police. Now. I mean now.
Wee woo.
Okay, he's gone, he's gone. Oh, there, he's back, he's back, he's back, he's back, back. Dance. Woo!
Cheating.
Stammen. You do have permission to join this game. You do not. You do have permission to join this game. Error code 524. Did you shadow the hedgehog?
So close. I had the gun in my possession.
Again, something's wrong with Will. Have you tried adding Carter? Because he's the host. Because it's a private match. Don't kill the snowman, no! Poor snowman. What's your news? No cycle. You don't need to add me, you need to add it's Carter. Well, I have not got saved. I thought I did. Need to add that account there. What? XI Fusion just put in. Add that, he'll accept your friend request, and then you can come play with us.
Oh, you have too many friends. We have tried.
Yeah, we tried to add. Well,
I've tried to add him already, but it says he's got too many friends.
yeah, you need to delete one of your friends so we can add you.
No offense.
Yeah, I've got your request, and it says
Max number.
got max number of friends.
Got no fins.
Callum, you gonna join?
Welcome to my life.
No.
Why? You're boring.
Thanks.
Well,
Hey. What's going on? You're Jojo. And Dan.
Oh, Jojo.
Queen trending. Oh my god. Why is Queen B United?
Who's that?
Don't know. It's just Queen B trending on Twitter. It's Roblox. It's Roblox. Oh, there's different stuff.
To the
top
hedgehog.
one's Roblox.
Have you removed one of your friends from your extensive friend list? That's all I can imagine. Wait, how many friends do you have?
Oh god. You have too many friends. Shadow.
Got
Get
no fins.
rid of 2 friends. To add us. You have max friends.
Sign me on that one.
You've got no fins.
Yeah,
Ha!
I'm
I'm the sheriff. No, get rid of 2 friends. I don't say it. Still can't get it. It says error code 524. God mode games? God? You need to add it's Carter. You need to add Carter to join. I'm learning slowly.
I don't know what.
No.
Why?
I hate you,
I
Will.
need,
Fucking
we
hate
know.
you, Will.
We know that's your username. Oh, there we go. Okay,
That's
I've
the point the whole time.
added.
Go kill Will.
Right. Fine.
The Jack says.
Yeah, Jack is dead.
I am dead thanks to Will. I mean, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud, Will. Sorry, Will. I didn't mean to tell everyone it was you. Will. Will's the murderer.
Will I have the gun?
Oh shit, I'm fucking.
Will I have the gun?
That's I was spraying the whole time. Real sure I was.
I was like the whole time.
And no one saw
What the
me.
hell?
No one's. Where the fuck is everyone? I seen no one here. All I seen is finish Jack. The kills. Where
Yeah,
the
because I'm the
fuck-
only. Well, I was the only one playing.
Baby.
Oh, I see someone.
Watch out, Carter behind you. Down the corridor to your right.
Yeah, I know. I saw it.
No.
You like that shot. You liked it. You liked
Press
it.
E. Hey, throw. Too late, you already died. You wank. You bitch.
Everyone else can join. I don't know why
Yeah.
you
It's
can't.
behind
Jeffrey Jr. Oh, June lol's in. We got
Yes.
that ill guy from mine.
Don't join them, I don't we can't.
We've got
We've got-
everyone but God Mode Games.
We've got us 3 and 3 other people, I think. 1, 2, 3. 6. Oh, I'm gonna try using my Chromebook. Gonna try using Google Chrome. Good luck on the RAM.
I'm like lit to this.
Bruh.
Oh, it's Carter, 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 it's Carter. Once again, it's Carter.
Oh yeah.
Do a claim.
Hey, Sheriff is
Oh, I
dead.
can't. Oh yeah, I can.
Oh, I'm playing Fortnite. Not that.
Right now I was. Oh,
I could
I
see
was
your
in the
footsteps.
trading menu.
Jack, I could see your
Oh,
footsteps.
thank you. I was in the trading menu. Why are people wanting to trade with me?
Who wants to trade with you? You have nothing.
It's a fucking.
Oh my god, these look nice.
Is Will dead yet?
Oh no. Where is the gun? Fucking go.
I feel
I don't know where the
bad.
gun is.
Do you want the default gun?
Oh shit! Shit! Oh fucking shit! No, I can't jump.
Get candies.
Oh, it's on me. Oh, he's missing
Oh my god, thank you so much, guys. I don't know what half these are.
You ran past the gun. You ran past the gun.
Yeah.
Oh, Jack's dead. Oh.
Gunskin now.
You ran past the gun, Will.
Chromebook is basically, yeah, it is. And it also runs a very shitty OS.
Off me, boys.
Wait, there's still someone left.
Who's up
Your
there?
biggest fan, guys. Are you a fan? Who's
Hold on,
baby girl?
I'm good here.
Hey,
Oh.
big girl.
Oh, that's
What's
someone
your
from my
name?
stream.
Oh, got a few girls in there, do you know?
Oh,
God, they're giving me
No.
candies. I'm loving this. Some candies. Well, thank you so much, guys, for the free loot. I have to fuck all for it. Other than try to stream. My computer dying.
I'm your big fan, guys. Like,
Do 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 do.
Oh my god, Callum, you're so funny and
Carter
Can't
sucks
tell-
small
can't use my word
winkies. Callum.
you suck small willies if you
I can't get again.
Jesus Christ, mine. I was killing myself. I do like the candies. Like the free candies in the van. It's candy. Wait, can I eat? I want to eat.
I'm not innocent.
What do you do with the candy? You eat them. How do I eat them? I want to eat them.
Jack,
I'll just say.
Why?
yeah,
Thing.
I'm gonna try and find that elf
Oh.
costume.
Are there like things that the traitor can only use?
That baby girl person's AFK.
You too? I don't think so. I think I need to try to add Carter. But you can try to add me as well, but I don't know if that changes anything. It suits ever an elf.
Right there, he goes, oh me!
I'm an elf.
It's Jojo, just the murderer.
It's hard to tell because so many people are elves.
Murderer.
Oh, baby girl is.
We need
Try
to
and
do
find them, can
Simon
we?
Says. We need to do Simon Says.
Sorry.
Well, okay.
I don't have you.
Oh my god, the sheriff is AFK.
Jack on you. Thank you. Mwah. Is that you, babe? Is that Eden?
Is Eden coming on?
I don't know. Do you know who Baby Girl 96 is?
Oh yeah, no, that's on from my stream.
Do you know them though?
No, I've sent an invite to 2 people.
I don't know why. I just have a really weird. I'm your biggest fan. Guys, calm down, calm down. You can all be my biggest fan. Why am I being FaceTimed?
Your mum.
Because I knew it was you. It's Eden. Baby Girl 96X is Eden.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yes.
So it's not the person from my stream then, is it? I don't think so.
You got no fans.
Oh well.
I'm your biggest. I'm biggest
Got
fan.
no
You
fans.
can all be my biggest fans. They're all my fans. Shh. Watch out. Oh, Eden died.
Is that actually Eden?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You should say it for the bands.
Rip.
Giving up with Eden at this point. She keeps making fake accounts trying to play with me. I know your secrets, babe. I know it.
It's just awesome. What's awesome?
Bank.
I hate pink angle about playing when I'm playing. Like the north side, not this side.
Oh, God mode's joining.
Change it. It's hard to do it. It's not gonna be obvious. Okay.
I'm innocent again.
Yeah, I'm sure, right?
I should be in. I just missed what I am.
Okay, aim out fucking.
Someone's dead already. Who died? It's this guy. Don't know who he is. Someone with the Jeffy Jr. got thing. Oh my god.
What?
Baby girl off the murderer. Okay.
Will, that's the murderer. Shoot it. It's the murderer. It's not me.
I know.
It's the baby girl.
No, it's definitely Carter.
I think it's called.
Don't shoot me there.
Obviously
There,
it
there.
is.
Shoot me.
Well,
there.
Sonic kicked me out.
Yeah,
What
right.
the I don't know
Shoot me.
what's wrong with your wrong with your game.
It's Jack. It's Jack.
It's not.
Jack. It's on his
Will,
stream.
it's not. It's not. Will.
It's on his stream. What did I say? What did I say? It's Jack. And Jack. Do we say where that baby girl person is?
That's Eden.
They're in the laundry room.
Oh, I've got to go and kill you, babe.
Oh my god, just go. Who is? They're now coming out into the hallway.
Dude, for 2 minutes a game.
So who's actually?
Jack
Get
just sliced
wrecked.
her in the neck.
I just sliced my girlfriend in the neck. My
Oh,
fiance in the neck. Jesus Christ.
Will was the sheriff. This is the last time I'm ever trusting Will being the sheriff.
What?
Yeah, just don't let Will be the
You're
sheriff.
an awful sheriff. I'm sorry.
Oh, you killed me. Who killed that? Who killed him? Who killed them?
Go onto the game. Click. Survival. Yes, I can see Thug. I can see.
I am innocent.
Yeah.
Busy.
Might need a loot break in a second. God, I don't know what's wrong with your game. Oh, Will behind you. It's me. I'm innocent. You can go and check my stream. I promise you.
I'm not buying that job.
Will.
Okay, you're fine.
I'm innocent.
Same here.
I'm using Will for protection.
I have two. Oh, 93 messages.
93 messages on what? Jesus.
Yes, because I haven't looked at it for like 5 minutes. Who's the murderer?
Ah, help me. I'm stuck. I'm stuck with Eden.
Will, it's Jack. You need to kill him.
It's not. I swear to God. Check my stream.
It's baby girl. I'm predicting it's baby girl.
What if so? I'm in the same little thing with her.
Or is this guy?
Friend
Kill this
and
guy.
temporary-
This guy, Jack.
Oh, we've got someone else joining.
Shoot him. Right,
Back
he's
in
gonna follow me
elevator.
now. Why is he following you then, Will?
Oh,
What did I
it is.
say? I literally told you, Will.
Isn't you? I'm blaming it on my Wi-Fi, so it's like it's nothing to do with it. Yeah, probably. Even my Wi-Fi is struggling to do this.
Viewers.
Every time.
I tell you every time, Will. You can listen to me every bloody time.
Who was it?
But I won't call. I'll trust you. It's always your
Oh.
no. But that's just every time. I got it.
Who's dead?
And now I'll trust you now. I trust you. But you're always right.
Just ignore me.
Select servers
Oh, are we
and
Click the game.
join.
Clicking.
one.
I'm reading random shit up.
I'm literally telling them what to do.
That's it. Fucking now. Jeez.
Who's the murderer?
Jack.
And where's the gun?
Jack, I'm gonna take Jack. He is by the gun.
Oh, feck.
All you have to do is survive.
5, 2 minutes.
If I survive, do we win?
All you have to do is live, Jack.
5.
No one can see where I am? I'm safe.
No, he can't. He's on the bottom floor.
Oh, damn, what can I say, guys?
Oh my god. Whoa. Hello, people. We've got
What you
46
OP?
viewers.
What?
Nice boy.
Jesus.
What are you streaming on?
YouTube?
Okay. I'll get education.
Nah.
I'll get
Where's my 46 viewers got? Chuck it up.
60.
For me, tonight, I got 7
I've
people.
got 60. Nah.
5 now, 3.
63. Right, everyone drop a sub, please. It means a lot.
Please, guys, I need these subs, please. Please, make sure to go and shove to my best friend, Blue Water Gamers, as well. He needs them. More.
72.
Jesus Christ. I thought you were lying.
No, you can see it, right?
Yeah, I'm on your stream now.
79. What the?
What are you streaming on? What's the
I'm
channel?
on YouTube.
82, 89. Gee, I want to see this cross over to 100. Come on.
What?
100.
Blown up.
100. 93.
Not streaming, after vacation.
My days.
97. Come on.
97.
100.
Come on.
Give it 100.
100.
100.
Ah, no.
100.
There you
Just
are.
keeps going up.
There you are, found it. Just not bitch. Found it.
110.
Sammy now.
100. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Roblox has done bits for me. My days.
Wow, this is like cute.
Where's the gun?
You fucking egg, aren't you?
Oh, the person still got the gun.
No, not murder.
How
Right.
didn't you know that was Eden before?
I don't
It's
know.
literally a
is
picture
that-
of me and her. Yeah, the username Iwu is Eden. There's literally a picture of me and Eden on it.
How you moving that back? 2 hours off?
My
Jesus
days.
Christ, congrats, man.
121. My god.
Oh,
How is it that? How? I want to know. Why would they click on the thing? Why would they?
I found the murderer.
I want to know what's happening because
Something
this
now,
is not
I found
normal.
it.
I usually average
found it
0
now.
viewers for a stream.
Found it, right. I'm fucking murderer.
My god.
Where are my views? I'm at 4. He's at 126. This is bullshit. Bullshit. Hey, Will.
Jack, you. Why kill me?
Why killed the guy?
120.
No, okay, I'll do the fucking boy. Oh. Oh, you can see. I thought I fucking
Jesus.
It's Damien. Do you want the gun? The gun is in the main lobby.
And music. I know. Okay,
My days.
that's in the.
Oh, it's going down again. Oh, it's going down.
That's a gun. I'm dead now.
Thuggy Piggy, did you do something to my stream?
I was going to say, it's very weird to have 112 viewers.
That's a gun.
It's very weird to get
No
really
more.
instantly. Thug Piggy. Thug Piggy, what did you do?
Fuck Piggy, whatever you did for him, I also need the view. Please.
Oh shit. It's baby killed the murderer. Oh my.
God mode just put, I think Carter's view count just crashed my Chromebook.
Oh my days, that
Jack.
oh, it's gone down. It's gone down.
Your phone now. Jack. That baby. It's healthy.
What did you do, Thug Piggy?
Thug Puggy. I don't know who he is.
Don't know who he is either.
Jack, he wants you to turn your mic down.
Sorry, is this better? I just want to make sure, is this better or too loud or?
He can't turn it down.
Turn it down in Discord, because if I turn it down my end, it turns down on my stream.
I think I turned it down. It was on 200% for you.
Yeah, that might be why. Right,
Yeah.
another match. Jesus.
What happened there?
His mic is way louder than ours. I can't hear you all. I know, I've got high quality, shitty mic. It's just extremely loud.
I can't chill. I can't fucking know the music. That's fun. That's fun.
Oh yeah, it's going down completely now.
What the fuck?
Thug Piggy, did you by any chance just view bottom?
Oh.
Where are my views? Thanks so much
He
for the
probably
sub
got
though, my
his,
friend.
Squad friends. He probably got his squad of friends.
Go and watch this guy for like 5 seconds.
He wants
I
your
have to get
stream.
mail. Ooh.
I'm innocent.
What mail do you
again.
have? Blue Water Gamers?
He's gonna give you minus fees now.
No. I've got Snowman. Babe, we know it's you. Oh wait, no, I think I just missed the train. No.
Is she the murderer?
I don't know.
Who died? Jack.
Wait. No, I didn't get the snowman. Why did I do that?
No, it's not you.
You know, man. I wonder where the snowman. Look how cute.
Ah, hello, ew.
I've just
Are
been
you
blasted in the head.
Ew. Are you on the game?
It's Eden. You could just call it Eden.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. I couldn't see the picture. It is actually.
Yeah.
Eden. I couldn't see the picture. I'm blind.
I instantly knew. I got you, broski.
It's nice to know that
Brusky.
Eden's watching my stream.
And please, hello there.
I'm in the toilet. Oh my god.
To
Oh,
be
hello,
fair, I
Eden.
don't think Eden wanted me to realise it was her. I'm in game chat 1 in Discord. Oh, you joined my Discord. Welcome to a Discord, my friend. We're just currently keeping it into a little closed session. Otherwise it gets noisy, I've realised from
Who's
past
the
streams.
murderer? No one's dead.
Oh, yes. Snowman. Oh, yes,
Check your
snowman.
chat and views. Oh my god, he boosted my chat. Check your stream.
It's boosted yours and mine has gone down.
He said he's gonna boost them.
Yes. No. Kind of. Just kind of want to see it.
We the fuck's the fuck?
And he's gone down
Trade
by
me.
1.
Oh my god.
Well, we the murderer. Stop
I've
following
got
me.
Snowman. Spamming them.
Stop
Tapping them.
following me.
What is
Jack,
this?
you the
What
sheriff.
I'm not even in the game.
Will, stop following me.
I guess I can't. I don't want to take Snowman. I've already got one. I feel bad. So I don't want. I can't. Let's fucking
Who
equip
is the
2 Snowman.
murderer?
I don't know.
This murderer is the shittest murderer I've ever seen. He's not
I'll
killed
take
anyone.
Pumpkin. Tell you what, the Roblox community is actually very nice.
It's 4. You're on 4 again, Jack.
Oh, guys, we're getting that boost in. But my summer, my pumpkin song.
Oh, Eda's a murderer. She doesn't know how to play.
Just kill her. You'll be alright.
Who's the sheriff? It's Eden. She's
They're
in the
coming.
toilet. Yeah, there we go.
I just kind of want to see it go up.
Oh no, it took too. She took too long.
She took too long
so
to
the game
kill.
ended.
What did I
Oh,
not accept it?
Wait, she killed the sheriff. She killed the sheriff.
How?
Hey, oh, there it goes. There it goes. Go and look at my stream. I've gone to 22.
I don't want the clown being lol. Thug Piggy.
Wait. I want to take a picture of
Oh
this
my god,
just so I
you're
can
getting
post
boosted.
it.
You're getting boosted. You're on 27.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
31.
I've gone back down to 11. My thing's been weird.
33.
36 I'm on.
I'm on 36. Oh.
38.
Oh my
It's the game!
I'm sick and tired of being bloody innocent. I've been there for like 6 games
41.
now.
Don't scam me. I didn't try to scam you.
Jack,
I
you're
just
cutting
wanted
out
to see this.
badly.
On my internet, it's not like I'm playing Roblox.
43.
Jesus.
Who's shooting?
Yeah.
50. Don't kill me. I'm innocent.
Shoot someone. Hit your
Can move the
shots.
boxes. Oh, my internet's going.
It's the blue guy. See, I told you.
And we win as usual. Easy with a capital E.
Easy, boy.
Where did that ender person go? That ender
I
person.
don't know. I think it was a friend that I added ages
Yeah,
ago.
it's someone from our stream.
Is it?
Yeah.
God, my Roblox is just dead. 60. Me dad. How did I scam you? Please don't
Cool.
go.
Why are you noob? What is this guy's name? Check your stream. What is this guy's name?
Why are you noob?
You're on 68. You've peaked at 68. I
My
peaked
peak
at
is 68.
120.
There we
Oh,
go.
69.
I am now noob.
Oh my god, you need to type it. 70.
69,
oh my
guys.
God, I want to kill myself. I'm innocent again.
Felt like I'm
Because
gonna get
someone
reported
just
for that guy.
Because someone shoot the wrong person and give me the gun. Oh, Jack, you're the murderer. I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
Jack, do we say who the thingy is?
Say who the
Tell
what
you who
thing
everyone
is.
Wilson,
not done.
Sheriff. Eden's climbing up a ladder. Oh, she's trying to.
Emphasis on the word trying.
Yep, emphasis on the word trying a lot. Right, you got 2 more people to kill. 2 people in the vents. 2 people are in the vents. Someone's in a locker room.
God, my internet's dying. I'll tell my mum to stop watching porn.
Someone's going upstairs. I think Eden's in there. I don't know. No, that's not the one Eden's in. That's the one I was talking about. He's just running everywhere.
I am coming.
Please don't kill him. I'm testing the fucking chat.
This is kind of fun.
Real fucking chat.
Some of these are getting quite fresh.
No. Join our Roblox game. Someone asked if oh, they're bots. They're
Yeah.
not friends, they're bots. Oh, well done.
I got it, boys. Watch being sad.
Will, shut up. No.
Hey.
Jack is.
Oh, sorry, Glasgow IT. You want to join my game show? This just sound good. Sorry, I miss your thing. I was currently trying to own some noobs. They're gonna go bye real quick. No. Wait. Let me just get a
What's
photo.
your
Of it.
username?
Thank you so much for the sub there, Thug Piggy. I don't know, does that come through on stream?
Being
weird.
Already on there.
So I just want that to show off to mine. Okay, on my screen did not hit me. Roblox. I think my game's lagging a lot, so it's a bit all over the place.
Oh, I'm going to kill myself.
Why?
I'm literally gonna kill myself.
Can.
Did you read my message? Which one?
That's Mary. Get the fuck with Jack.
Well, they're not scanning. I didn't scan it. Or the one on your screen.
That's murderer.
Oh,
my
Eden
God,
was the
who's-
detective.
Oh my God, Jack again.
Roblox, yeah. I don't know,
You're
my game's
hacking.
lagging a lot. No.
You're the murderer twice in a row.
I'm just really good at it.
Who the fuck's it?
You guys need Spotify
You're
Premium
bloody
accounts.
hacker.
No, Will.
Jack, because you don't watch my
right.
stream, you don't know where I'm hiding.
I've got your stream open. I think you'll find.
No, you don't.
Don't I?
Oh. I
No.
just want to go up and get the gun.
Tell Blue to go and check chat and views.
Yes, Dad.
Gotta boost them. No, I don't know to play Ukada. Thanks so much for that. I'm gonna call it a social experiment.
It's 9:30. That's early.
Yeah, early. I'm alright for Spotify Premium accounts.
Thug
Is it?
Piggy, can you?
Yeah, you.
What did you add me on this?
Oh no.
My.
This part, I'm just accepting anyone.
Oh my God. I had a 1 in 5 chance of getting it and I still didn't get it. I'm still innocent.
I miss what I am.
Who-
What am I?
Sheriff, because I'm gonna sell it.
Nah, I'm innocent.
Yeah.
Someone come kill me so I could just spectate while I go and piss.
Oh, you got your wish.
Yes, kill
Did
me.
you die, Jack?
No.
Oh my God. Will's the
Someone
bad
come
man.
kill me.
I saw him. I saw him. It
Will.
was Will.
I'm behind the sleigh. Come and kill me.
Who's the sheriff? We need the sheriff.
I've done Roblox. Yeah, I've just accepted your request. To join, I think you have to add a Carter. Get out, Caddy Waddy. That's you.
Once you've added Thug Piggy, you need to go on to Murder Mystery 2, select server, and join the. Oh,
So what you need
found
to
the
do.
gun.
Yes, thank you for killing me. What, I'm just going to explain this very quickly, so if you miss it, I'm very sorry. What you need to go and do, you need to go and add, it's Carter YT, what's just above one of your messages. Once when you've done that,
3D Pain Guy.
once when you've done that, go on to Murder Mystery, and on there should be stream server. What's the server called?
Oh, hello, yeah, Lopez. Do you want to join us?
Yeah, Lopez, welcome to stream. I'm just going to quickly BRB because I need a piddle, but I'll be back in like 5 seconds. Thanks, guys. Keep calm. Hopefully, Carter won't try to steal you all.
Now,
Because I need the fuse.
go on to.
Go to mission, press service, and see type join session. 1 meter.
Oh my God, I'm sheriff. Thank goodness. Oh, it was Jack. Please have his murder. Oh, he's innocent. Why don't you kill him anyway?
What? Jesus, far down. Dude,
I'm
dog,
predicting it's this guy down here. He just run off.
oh.
Will,
Yeah.
why are you following me?
I'm not. I'm going
You off,
I'm
Jack?
going to work. I'm going to work. What the hell?
I knew it was you.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, guys, I'm back.
I killed Will.
Go Roblox. We're on Roblox and play.
Thug Piggy's in our game.
Is he?
Yep.
I remember when I used to play this, my friend gave me like a modded account. We spent hours just going to random games and modding it. Yeah, but I'm all piddled out, so I'm fine to play. Any
Do you
merch?
have any merch?
My merch.
No.
I'll give you my merch, but it's not very professional.
It's
Anyone knows what my...
I'm sheriff again. Let's
I'm
go.
fucking innocent again. I've also just realised we're like 1 subscriber away from hitting 180. Yes, I do. Give me a second there, J247.
I'm gonna take a wild guess again. He doesn't. Thug Piggy, he does not have any merch.
I do. Go and check my merch out, guys. Woo.
If you keep following me, I'm gonna assume you're the murderer and kill you.
Hello?
Leave me alone. Jack, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna kill you even though you're innocent.
Why? I'm innocent. Oh, my link got banned.
I don't care if you're innocent. I want you to die.
It's a snowman. Oh.
I missed that on purpose. I shot when you.
Yeah, right.
Who's the? Oh, the murderer's Eden. The murderer's Eden.
Yeah, that's no
Because
surprise
no
there.
one's died. No one's died. Oh, someone died.
Oh.
Everyone died.
Oh.
Did they?
Oh, I see him.
It's Will.
I'm innocent.
Will,
What?
if you don't want me to drive to your house and burn you in my car, come out.
Eden says apparently the murderer's damning.
It's not even Will.
Oh. I know who it is.
It's that guy, that new guy.
Yes, it is. Where did you guys die? I need the... kind of need the gun. Please don't kill me. I'm not very good at this game. What the hell is the gun? Oh, no! I just found the gun.
You just found the gun. Damien. Oh, he's talking about Roblox merch. Do you have any Roblox merch?
Oh, no, no,
That you can buy
no.
on Roblox.
Do you not like my merch? What's wrong with my merch?
It's just pants.
No, there's not. There's some, like, things you can wear swimming and that.
Edith said it's not very good.
Did she?
Yeah,
Where?
on the Roblox chat.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, it's not very good though. Ooh, no. Oh,
What
sheriff
it is.
again, 3 times in a row. Let's go.
I keep missing what I am because I keep looking at other things.
And that is
Jack, come
My
here.
goldly knife.
Jack,
Why?
come here. Jack, come here. I want you to kill me.
what? No, it's murderer.
My goldie knife. Yes. Trapped you.
Jack, I know you're murdering.
It's Jack.
Oh, I'm watching Babe now run away. Hopelessly.
Stop killing Eden.
But it's an easy free kill.
Yeah. So is this.
Oh. Sorry, what was that? What was that, Tom?
Ah.
Oh. Tell you what, guys, if that's just on pro. I wanted to something
With my
that
godly
you
knife,
all one
look in the
by one.
Roblox chat.
I wanted to fuck you all one by. Well, I mean, if you're paying, don't see no reason why not.
Disgusting. Why? Disgusting.
I want to kill
Mummy.
you.
Disgusting.
One by one. Yes, I want to kill you all by one.
Could someone trade me a godly knife? The kawaii anime girl, can you trade me your godly knife for the frosty one? The frozen one?
Okay.
No. Oh. Game started.
Oh my
god, I'm fucking innocent again.
No, you're not. Leave me alone.
I am. Go and look at my stream. I'm innocent. Wait, innocent? So am I.
Yeah.
Bullshit, you know who I am.
I'm always innocent.
That's a block. Lord will leave me alone.
I'm not there.
Right, everyone come into the office. No one kill me. I'm gonna do a guess. I'm
I
gonna do a
don't.
trick
I
shot.
can't work out which one's yours. Celsius
Please,
Terminum.
Let's go.
That one.
Everyone, I'm going to try and trick shot the murderer. I don't know who it is.
Oh, come on, mate.
Yeah, I don't. Look at live stream.
Start with a D.
Everyone in the office.
Damien is.
What?
I'm very sorry.
Line up
I'm gonna
next to
butcher that name.
where-
Which office?
Can you get everyone in the game to come to my
Everyone who's in the game, come to office.
in office?
Babe, come on.
I'm gonna do a game.
Trace the sodding office. Oh wait, I found it. Okay, everyone come line up here.
Next to me.
The game, life or death.
Oh my god, I will kill you. Get in line.
Hmm.
I'm suspicious.
Get in line. I couldn't be bothered with your shit.
Right, guess I'm taking over the role of detective. Oh, stop. It wasn't well either.
What are you doing, you bitch?
I was trying to trick shot you.
Just-
Like, told me. You should behind me, so active a pool player. You I'm from the fucking behind. You hacker.
Oh, it's Eden.
Was easy the fucking care. Again.
Oh my god, does anyone have the gun? No one has the gun. And one of them is the murderer. If you're the murderer, just kill. I think it's Eden.
It is. She just messaged me. I'm the murderer person. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Smash mark.
Just get
Jay,
the gun from the
I'm
office.
the murderer.
Doug,
Okay.
get the gun from the office. The gun is in the office.
Charlie. Grab the gun in the office.
She's not gonna kill you. She doesn't know how to play the game.
Oh, that was a good fart. Oh,
She doesn't know how to play. She
So
hasn't even got a gun
refreshed.
thing out. She didn't even kill me though. I killed that Davian guy because he's just full of shit.
we killed each other, basically.
Yeah. Right. Someone give me
Somebody
the
once
gun
told me
next
round.
I'ma do a game. No one kill.
It was Jublino. Jublino, no.
Job.
Yes, who's Jub?
Oh, I'm
My good
innocent.
friend.
I need
Oh my
someone
god, I'm
to give me the
fucking
gun.
innocent again. Someone just kill me. Will kill me because you always kill me.
In.
Oh, I wanted the gun.
I
Oh, we're having a fight with the gun guys. Jesus Christ. Girls, calm down.
Jack, have you got the gun? No, you're
Oh, I'm innocent.
Will you, Sheriff?
No, I'm innocent.
Oh,
Who
Simon
gun?
says here.
The guys with the
And
gun.
right, try to 360.
The guys with the gun on me now.
When you drop down 360.
That's what I'm gonna try and do.
Yes. Yes.
I need someone to
Yes.
give me the gun.
Right, we're gonna 360 each other.
Kill and and give me gun.
We're giving you targets. Nope.
The match.
So laugh if he actually killed the traitor.
Doug, just kill Will and give gun.
A second, he's 360ing.
By me? I'm not the fucking
No, he needs to give me the gun.
Oh, fuck off, you told me.
On 360 then. Waiting in line for you.
Right, I need to turn my sensitivity up. Why? Well, I'm kicking him. Who is it?
Why is there like a
Who is it? I'm
floating
kicking
body?
him. G-Beam.
J.
It's you. I need to kick him. How do I kick him? Can I block him?
Which one?
Wait, not him.
The blue guy, the green suit.
Yeah, the guy with the green suit. I need to kick him. He's ruining the fun.
Beat out night. That person. Yeah,
You know why? It's just because we should be playing GTA.
That's
GTA stream.
Bean. JD Bean out night 3.
We'll do this till the end of time. Jesus Christ.
Unfriend.
Gonna be here for a while.
There we go.
Good
I think he
profile.
should be kicked now.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Apparently he's offline.
Sorry.
Just watch my ping.
Can't do this word.
He's at the gun.
Why not bad? Yeah. You look up the stage thingy.
Oh, there's a match going on. Forgot.
So. Go.
Yeah. I keep
Yo,
telling
what?
Jubing to leave.
One person, two people watching your stream. That's a slap. Only two.
Star effort. Jesus, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Amazing what I can do. And I'm innocent again.
It's not me either.
Why am I fucking innocent?
I'm innocent. So, no,
Right, he's right there.
kick, slash.
I'm watching thing.
No, it's not working.
You're innocent. Us,
Who has the gun?
not me. You're innocent. I'm innocent. Yeah. This guy thought. Sarah says.
Nice ever.
Sausage
A
downstairs.
Oh my god.
Oh. Let's see what that is.
It was
Play
stand
proper until sheriff. Then we do sign.
Okay.
oh, come on, baby. Oh, come on.
As usual, Will's balls have retracted.
What?
What's left of them?
Oh my god, I'm innocent.
I get it.
Yeah, why do I keep becoming innocent?
Did. Jack, don't kill me, please.
That's Houston.
Eden, yeah.
What?
I was about to say Eden's coming his way.
Tell you what, she is not going to speak to me tonight.
Just kill.
You're killing a statue.
I won.
Why? Did you just win? You were chasing. The sheriff killed me.
God, my...
I want to know how to kick.
No, stop, no. Oh,
God, yes, finally.
Yeah.
Oh, why was that so hard to do?
It was.
Oh,
JS.
Maybe 5 is
Not me. I'm gonna get some crisps in a minute.
I'm gonna go and find a life. As a
You have a
pro
life.
killer. I'm
Where's Callum
badass.
left? Or is he still here? Yeah, he left.
Yeah, Callum ain't here.
Oh, Callum came off at 9:25.
He's been gone for a while.
It's now 10.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we lost him. We lost him, guys.
Look, Dave's coming up.
Wow. He has his own VIP.
I'm it. Wait, apparently God mode is in. God's in.
Oh, I'm innocent again. I'm
Oh
getting
God, no, I'm
crisps.
actually innocent. Does it mean anything? Simon. Who's Simon? Simon where? Simon is dead. What does this do?
Shit. Someone dies.
Oh, that does.
Whoa.
Moonlight ping. Oh, yep, someone's dead. In a minute. It's Surprising. Murder mysteries. Who would have guessed?
We'll just die.
Someone's stabbing people and I don't like it.
Who's the killer?
Oh my god, it's Will.
Who's
I
the
do
killer?
food and I
Really?
don't die. I play the game and
Why not?
oh god, my games is in.
Yeah, I was screaming it like 5 seconds ago. Saying God Mode Games is in. God is in. Oh, he's getting close. Something's wrong with my character.
Oh my god, it's the killer.
Dancing. You dance, God. You dance. Someone's being a bit crazy with the gun.
Who's the sheriff?
I don't know.
What the fuck?
My character's just my character's just broken at this point.
What the? Yeah.
I've broken Roblox.
Who the fuck's the killer?
Will, are you the sheriff?
No, I'm honestly.
Wait, let me get the gun. Wait, whoa. Jack's not the man.
The elf. Oh
Don't know
no,
what
I'm
Will is.
broken.
I'm just warning
And there's one more guy.
with this sheriff.
Why is my character's broken? I can't jump.
My cock.
What about your cock?
I can't think of that song.
My
Small?
cock.
Oh,
My cock.
the gun is right there. Wow! I just walked past the gun.
Don't. Who's a murderer?
Not me.
For the thingy.
Well, we
Back to
win
Carlos.
anyway. Bang.
Jeez, sorry.
Someone's picked the gun up.
Oh, it was
Oh,
Will.
we won! We won, it's fine, guys. Find the gun. I was trying.
I killed someone. So.
My character fixed now? Oh, there you go. That's the constant. My computer not lighting Roblox. It's live.
I forced him. I find him. Not you guys. I forced him. Fucking.
Okay, guys, something's wrong with Will. You hear screaming, guys. It's just Will.
Yeah. Okay, now, baby. Again.
What's the random scream?
I'm innocent. I'm telling the truth. That is
Oh, what?
the
I'm confused. I've just hit the murderer. Who's the murderer? Oh, I hit the gun.
Someone murdered me.
Oh,
Jack, were you
that was
the
a fast
murderer?
match.
Or was it God mode?
Nah, it was. Yeah, I think it was God mode.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. That's on pro plat.
It was Hector.
Hector. I'm happy. Yeah, it was definitely God. He said I killed Carter. I'm happy. I would be happy too. But let's see, if I killed him, I'll be doing it in real life. I'm innocent again. I would have been innocent. Oh my god, look, it's World War 3. Hello there. That looks like I'm dead. Ah, spectate.
I'm Naruto running.
So you do that in real life though, don't you? But to be fair, I can't blame you. It's very fun to do.
Jack, are you the murderer?
I'm dead.
Jack, no. The guy is behind you with a gun. No. You're not the murderer.
Oh, I'm dead. Told you. Right, God is
Oh my god, I'm getting some murder mystery codes.
murder mystery codes.
Yeah, you get some stuff.
Then is AFK as usual. Carter is AFK as usual. Britain is AFK. Seems like he's the only one who's actually playing. Come on, get the 10 killed up.
Jack, run.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Be my sacrifice.
I saw him by a body. He's just good at the game. He told us he was good.
That's a carrot. That's a carrot.
God, over there. Right behind you. Is God. I wonder what his reaction would have been just then.
That's a carrot. Fuck up that pussy. Fuck up.
Left. Oh, it's just Eden left at this point. Eden's the final one. Well, being AFK is the way.
Die. Oh my god. This is great.
This is fun to watch. Damn, Eden won it for us. Told you she's good.
Why? Yeah, dude.
Wow. She was hiding. I don't understand. She goes out with me. She's good at hiding. Max with a tree at this point. I'm innocent. Yay.
I'm innocent.
Right next to God.
There you go.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hey, can we change games? Carter!
Yeah.
People want to change games.
Why?
Game do you want to change it to? Sheriff. Okay, God's sheriff and we have to go to the middle.
Why do we want to change the game?
Because we've been playing this for like over 2 hours now.
What, change the whole game, or can we make a new one?
They changed the whole
A new
game.
Roblox game.
On
What
board.
do you want to do?
Ah, I wonder who the murderer might be.
Somebody.
I hate this guy. Why did he leave?
Oh,
Right,
shit.
I'm gonna find a new game that I can make a private server. Hide and
Right.
seek.
What I'll do,
Oh yes,
Building
hide and
hide-
seek. Eden's gonna be amazing at that.
that will be one really good.
Hide and seek in game.
Hide.
And that other guy can't join either. Hide and seek extreme.
Yes.
Servers. Create
Right,
private
everyone
server.
leave
I
this.
can make a private server. Do you want to make a private server for this?
Apparently there's a gun simulator.
Yeah, no, but that's boring, isn't it? We want to do an actual game
don't-
of hide and seek. Let's just exploring or hide and seek ultimate. Nah, that's not got many people playing.
Oh, crap.
Oh, Jack, what's your background?
My background is me and my
Oh,
girlfriend.
Jack, you can make some private servers. It costs 10 Robux, and you got 22.
Let's calm down. I know I'm rich, but not that
Oh.
rich. I know how to play the game, maybe.
There is gun simulators.
You
That plays. That one. That plays. Players.
What?
Wait, what?
What do you want to play? What game do you want to play for a private server?
Oh, people mess me. I don't know. I don't. Click home. It just takes me to me.
Oh, counting.
Gun
My
simulator.
favourites. Doing gun
Jailbreak.
simulator.
Oh, jailbreak.
Oh, jailbreak. Yeah.
We
Wait, you
need
set
to
that up.
I'll
That-
try. It depends how
Ghibli
much
no
Robux.
sent me a toy train
Depends how much
tycoon.
Robux it costs to make a VIP server.
I see jailbreak and dinosaur hunter. We're doing jailbreak.
200. It
What?
costs 200 to make a private server.
Our car's breaking Frank. Donate now.
Oh,
Donate. Link in description. Cost 200 V-Bucks.
Right, what was the other one? Dinosaur Hunter. I guess we got lucky with some other games.
ooh.
With it costing
I
10.
guess some of them are just cheaper than others. Too many campers. I dislike that one. That game.
Is this what it is?
I was gonna make a private one, but
Too many campers.
I think they're
It
talking
costs-
about.
It literally costs 200 Robux. That's V-Bucks.
We ain't that rich.
Yeah, I've got 18, you've got 22. I will have a look at the games menu, see if there's anything.
Okay.
No, the Phantom Force is bad. Dragon Ball Z Final Stand. Don't add him. I don't like him. Recommend some games. Bloxburg. Don't you have to pay to play that one?
Recommend some games. Join me. Wait, have you got?
Adventure Up. Are you making a private server for that, Jack?
No, you can't.
Jack. Can't you?
Oh.
You know, anime girl
Oh,
just said join me.
anime girl.
Yeah.
Who's that anime? Oh, is that Damien?
Yeah, Damien. I think.
Santa Boss Gun Simulator. We want a private server.
Join your friends. Which one?
It's really far down.
I don't want to play Toy Train
Damien.
Tycoon.
It's Damien. D for Damien. Wait. No,
Fuck,
it's
my
not on
old
there yet.
account.
Go next page. You'll be on your next page.
I'm in a low server.
Join.
This is bad. Gun Simulator's bad.
I don't even know what the fuck Gun Simulator is.
He bums this game, that's why it's fun for him.
I want to play that. Thing wrong hand. I break this game so much somehow.
Damien, yes.
It's bad. Jack, it's bad.
That's what we're here to do. Play bad games. To remind myself why I stopped playing. Now I could call. Oh, cool. Cool, this game isn't done, baby game. Cool.
That's so good. That's not bad.
No, first stuff upgrade. Cool. I don't know what's going on. Think about the tutorial anyway.
Just click next.
We'll get that off. Where is my mouse?
I'm leaving. It's too much to go.
I'm oddly enjoying this.
Adopt me. Full play. Oh, you
My
need a
mouse is
100.
like disappeared.
We might have to do hide
Don't
and
think we
seek.
can put that. I got
We
nothing
need to
and
do
everything I see, anime related.
Just do hide. Jack, do hide and seek.
Ragdolling.
I'll
Cool.
make a server
Don't
for hide
wanna
and
play.
seek. Oh wait, do you have more people from this thing on your friends list, don't you?
I'll just accept anyone who sends me a request.
Exactly.
I don't know God.
Jack, you do it, and I'll do the other next one. Do. So, in Roblox, type in hide and seek extreme, or just hide and seek.
Don't want people to say, oh shit, my spelling is hide and seek.
Jack, it doesn't
Oh, I'll
matter.
keep...
We spent 2 hours playing Roblox. Right, you need to go down one before searching. Why is your home bar on the side?
Because I like it there.
That's just weird.
Hide and seek extreme.
Yeah, it's the second one. You got hide and
I
seek
found
ultimate, then extreme with 18.3k.
Oh, server name.
You have to, Jack, you'll have to put it on your
Please.
stream so I can see what you're doing. Because you need to make it so all your friends can join.
I think I can work out how to do this. Friends allowed.
The
I don't
boys.
care.
The boys.
Yeah, cool.
Configure. And it says friends allowed with the tick box.
Yeah,
There
I've
we
already
go.
ticked it.
There we go.
In
You
gaming,
don't need to
everyone
do that,
just
click
join.
Save. Just click save.
I have, I'm joining the game. I have to remember there's a bit of delay on my stream.
Open a row of blocks. There's always SCP. We doing hide and seek.
Again.
Dun, 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 dun. We spent 2 hours doing it.
2 hours, 10 minutes I've been on.
Wow.
Why is this speaking about the fucking... We doing hide and seek?
Jack, you're
Yeah.
doing it. You're it. You gotta find me.
Oh, feck off.
Oh, wait.
Jack, we can see what your computer's running.
God, what the
I
fuck
can't
is
do it.
my computer right now?
Yeah, can't.
Look at my ping in the top right. Because this is like mainly all like internet driven. When your ping goes high, it
This
kills
is
the
a
game.
fun. Oh, I've got a little spy.
Tell your friends to fuck off. Which ones? I've got a few. Got a few in the back.
Oh, there we go. Now,
Oh, everyone's in.
10, 7, 7, 7, 7. Hi.
I can see where you are. If I hide somewhere, I could just see where you are, because I can spectate.
Guys, I'm expecting just by now.
So we've got quite a few people in here, I think, now.
Yeah, we're expecting just by now.
Okay, I'm free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Hey.
run. Jack, your stream's buffering.
Yeah, same.
Loading into this game did not like itself. Give it a second.
Ooh, I think you can see me.
Ah, no. Glad to see you.
Jack.
How do I catch you? That's the real question.
Probably
Let
can.
me...
Yeah, you're
I'm
faster than me.
slightly faster than you. Oh, my enemy. A jump.
Shing, shing, shing. No.
I win.
You found one player. Congrats. Shing, shing, shing. Select map for 6 Robux.
Don't know that much. Porno.
That's just the sort of thing Jack would do. Spend 6 Robux on choosing a map.
I wish I had the money to.
Oh, baby girl.
That's Eden.
Who's just smashed a glass? I think my stream's just died.
Sorry.
I need to move. But Eden does not know how to play this game, so you might want to move. Jack, we have the same idea.
What? Or did you just disappear for no reason? Whoa, I'm on a hob. Whoa, I'm on a roof. Jesus Christ, what the fuck is wrong with my stream? Yeah, OBS is not liking this. What is the question?
Oh, está someone.
Oh no, she got me.
Yeah.
Did she get me? They're dad playing now.
Jack, did we just get caught?
How about game chat? Oh, computer's just died.
Actually, I didn't
Or
move
what?
again now.
I'm confuffled.
Just come check it out.
I'm Sage. Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
What?
Is Eden on a computer, Jack?
She might be on a laptop. I don't know.
Does she have Discord?
Oh.
She's there. Oh, fuck. Oh.
Sounds like someone's enjoying her company.
In my house. In my harvest. Shit. Oh my god.
Yeah. Get fucked. PC. It's on PC. Might have to. I'm gonna have to add off in a second. Hello? Guys? Hey. Ah,
Yeah,
cool.
when?
Fucking.
Yeah, when, boys?
I know, God.
Damn, Andy.
Guys? Yeah. I'm gonna head off now.
Why?
See, I was just putting chat Aiden wants to head to bed.
Oh.
Alright, guys, I'll see you. If I leave, will this, like, kick everyone? Find out next week.
Staying for more round.
I've just left.
Oh. I'm gonna leave. I'm not playing with you being low.
Right, guys, I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you soon.
See ya. Right, I'm just gonna leave you lot looking at that. Because I have my BRB. Okay. Yeah, they're all for Twitch, ain't they? Well, thank you for anyone who have came through. Thank you to the handful of people who have left a little sub today. It's been a wonderful stream. I will do this again soon because it has actually been quite fun, I find. Playing with everyone and just having a bit of fun. A bit of good old classic fun, boys. Guys, I hope you lot have a good time. Because I'll tell you what, I've had a good time. I hope you lot are going to come back for the future streams of the future. Because futures... Because so sorry that it's been kind of iffy. I don't know what that's because of. My stream doesn't seem to like me very much. Because I'll see you all soon. Have a good one. Thank you all for watching and having a bit of fun. Guys, I'll see you all soon. Have a good one. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow, maybe with a new video, if you lot are lucky, and if I have clips or video stuff. Shit. Guys, I'll see you soon. Bye!